Hello, welcome to CJRU Artist Review. I'm your host, Kejo Buchanan, and my guests today are recipients of the 2020 Folk Music Ontario Award for Songwriting of the Year. Joining me from London, Ontario, and possibly other places, which they will point out later, I have Renee, Noelle, Hillary, and Steve, better known as the Pairs. Welcome, and please introduce yourselves and place.
Hello, my name's Noelle. Thank you for having us. I am just outside of London in Delaware, Ontario, living with my parents because I decided to be a traveling musician and they're supportive people.
I'm Hillary Watson, and I am living with my mom as well in London.
I'm Renee. I'm also living in London, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from the others.
My name is Steve, and I currently live in London, very close to Renee, actually, and not too far from the others.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what makes you all the Pairs. And do you want to briefly explain how this family came to form?
Sure. I'll take this. Renee, Noelle, and myself are lifelong friends. So we were born within a few months of each other, and we have been in each other's lives since then. And it just kind of fell into our laps that we were in the same town at the same time, looking for something to do and all loving music. So we started doing some performing, and then we started performing together and singing on each other's songs, as we all write our own music. And then before you knew it, we were actually putting sets together as a band and trying to come up with a band name. So now, 4.5 years later, we are the Pairs. Steve, also a friend. Steve, I actually met through my older brother, and he came to our first little concert that we threw together and asked if we needed a drummer, and he came to the very next practice.
Excellent.
And the rest is history.
Well, there you go. Excellent. So now here we are, the Pairs. And I know, like, in you describe your work as a gentle mix of choral and theatrical and Gaelic roots. And I am hearing that. I'm hearing a lot of the harmonies and those sorts of things. But maybe we can start with you, Steve. Would you like to tell me, like, what sort of influences do you bring to the band? Like, is there any particular style that you bring to your instrument that you tap into often when you're ready to play?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose anybody that's playing in a band brings their influence to the band, whether they recognize it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I know my background in terms of music I've played and music I've indulged in is quite a bit different than the other three, I'd say, for the most part.
And what background is that?
Definitely sort of more punk roots, metal roots, progressive rock roots.
Yes. So you thought choral, theatrical, Gaelic roots would be perfect.
Very drum driven.
Yeah.
And at the time of joining the band, it wasn't something I saw coming. It wasn't something I was looking for, and it actually really caught me off guard.
Oh, really? Well, that's how punk is, right? It just it just catches up with you.
And I really had to change the way I thought and felt to change the way I play, right? And it was a slow adapting process to meld, I think. And so again, in terms of how I influence, I guess it's a balance of bringing my flavor, but also serving the music and offering what the music needs, right?
Awesome. So, yeah, it's just trying to, figuring out that right balance and getting in. So you're bringing in your own level of harmony through the percussion. You're kind of just like blending it right in there.
Right.
Excellent. Excellent. And how about for yourself, Noelle? Is there any particular style that you kind of throw in there once in a while that you find that you tap in?
You know, it's funny. I feel like our start, I think, in music was definitely within choirs, in that very formal training. So with the pairs, what I've loved is slowly breaking away from that formal aspect of music. And I feel like I'm a silly person, and these guys pointed out to me sometimes, as do
you bring in the theater, right?
I love theater so much. And I mean, I'm certainly not the only one in this group of hooligans that brings theatrical element to the performance. Not by a long shot, but there is definitely this aspect of theater and performance that it invigorates me. It's definitely the thing I'm missing a lot right now. But yeah, that component is
you bring a lot of that into your work. And how about you, Hillary?
I have a lot of influences that came from my parents. And so my dad was a big Bob Dylan listener. And
yes, I love his music. Now it's like you've just shifted the whole interview, because now I can sit here and talk to you forever and ever. Well, the storytelling is really grand, but please go ahead and tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Dylan having a message with his music is something that I am reaching for. I mean, I am part of a band that has two other fabulous songwriters that have a beautiful way of putting meaningful lyrics into music. So that's definitely something that I'm always like wanting to aspire to. But I think naturally, I definitely have a lot of artsy kind of things that I like to put into my songs. So I want to always be metaphorical. I always want to be
yeah,
80s kind of style. I love drama, I guess. I'm a little bit of a dramatic person. So I try to put that into my music.
Yeah, because there's a lot of like, with Bowie, it's like a little more of that. There's a certain kind of showcasing in the style, and I really, yes, I get what you're saying. I can't quite grasp the words, but I'm seeing Bowie, and I understand. I understand where you're going with that.
It's like the stoicism of being weird and not caring what anyone else
exactly
thinks.
Like really being completely genuine and unapologetic about it. And yes, that's definitely a beautiful thing. Thank you, Hillary. And for you, Renee, I've noticed, you can correct me, but I believe you use a lot of vocalese sometimes. I was seeing it in I Call Home, and that wow, 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 kind of, like we're, that style of singing. But I don't know if that was deliberate or if it's just something you really enjoy, or it just felt right in the moment.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think music has always been a very self-indulgent thing for me, to be quite honest. Like, it's always been a bit of an escape from what else is going on around. And it's always felt very therapeutic and healing. And I think whenever all of us bring our writing together, I don't know that there's this approach, and jump in, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I feel like there's an approach that is playful. And so a lot of those things that you hear is really just a result of, I think, the four of us really being in the moment together when we practice. And like Steve was saying, you can't escape your influences, right? So it's like everything our parents ever played while we were around and everything we ever did in college, it like all just fuses together and smashes up against each other.
And this is what comes out. So was there a lot of jazz in your influences?
To be honest, no. Which is it's funny. A lot of we talk a lot about kind of the boundarylessness. Is that a word? the lack of boundaries, I guess, in the genres that we choose to kind of tiptoe through.
Mm-hmm. Just
and
kind
we've
of like
always
feel like
found it tricky.
Genre bending.
Yeah, we've always found it tricky to peg ourselves into one space. So I'm sure there's jazz influences there, as well as a ton of others.
Definitely. Yes. Because that's something I just noticed right away. And I was like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting all that. And it's just, it fit right into the end of the song there. And when you're doing I Call Home. So as I mentioned earlier, you did win the 2020 Songwriter of the Year Award. And for the Folk Music Ontario. And the song in particular was Did I? And perhaps Hillary, you can explain what that experience was like.
Yeah. Wow. We were over the moon about this in particular. I mean, it's the first award we've ever won. But not only was it amazing to win an award for the first time, but to win an award in the middle of a pandemic when we've lost touring. I mean, we were halfway through a tour when the lockdown first came into happening. And so we had to cancel a tour. We canceled a full summer of plans and tours. And it's this feeling of, is that it for us? Are we just going to fade into non-existence? Are we, is all this work and this momentum that we felt was starting to build after releasing an album? And so then when we got the message that we won this award, it was like, we can still create, we can still, people are listening, people care, and maybe we can maintain some relevance in this crazy world. So yeah, we were over the moon. It was amazing.
It is, yes. And here you are, we're doing even more videos about it to talk about it even more. But yes, it's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing because I do really enjoy, I just enjoy the song as well. And I'm glad that things are continuing, even though it's not the greatest online. I find for myself, because there are certain things that are being captured this way, I can catch more folk music. I don't know if you guys do more festivals, but I found I was doing more festivals last year because I can catch them all over the world. And yeah, that's pretty amazing. And, but yeah, were there any other comments you want to talk about, even the song itself? There's a lot of inner dialogue, and it's like you're taking the argument and you're putting it inside. Did I? And it's like, I thought it was interesting, this perpetual kind of purgatory that we put ourselves through sometimes in an argument. And did anyone else want to comment on that part of the writing?
You definitely, it's really always kind of lovely to hear how other people hear it, because you never really know. You can say something from your own perspective and it's always taken how it will be, right? And but yeah, that's kind of exactly it. That's the space that it was written from, was this kind of this acknowledgement of being at your wit's end with so many different people and noticing just these same reoccurring type of conflicts that come up with multiple different people in my life. And I think I got to this point where it was like this, wait a minute, the common denominator here seems to be me.
It's like deja vu, hold on.
And yeah, just this I don't want to keep doing this. I don't want to keep putting myself in this moment. And ultimately, I think that everybody's just looking for that kind of, that sweet ooh, right? And in the song, we say that it's like, just don't give me all that stuff that I should have done or could have done better. Let's find that sweet harmony now. Let's do what we need to do now to move forward and make it better.
Yeah, so, it's kind of like a long overdue. Let's just get off this Ferris wheel and yeah. I totally understand. Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, bravo, Renee. Thank you. Thank you for enlightening me on that one. And well, now that we're talking about the album a little bit more, and I know you're talking about like adapting and the playfulness, of course, definitely. And there's definitely a lot of messages coming through different songs here. And we could start maybe with you, Noelle, and let me know, like, was there any like experience of intensity or hilarity in composing or performing any of these songs? Like an experience that you just won't forget. It's like, oh, I remember when we did this.
I love that question. I feel like my life kind of exists within intensity of emotion, which I really actually have come to be grateful for, especially as I dive into being more of engaged with that artist side of myself. In regards to this album, the whole recording experience was really kind of surreal, to be honest, because it was just like everyone spending so much time in one space together and pulling things apart and giving it our all behind the microphone and getting in touch, or Steve behind the drums, and getting in touch with kind of, as you're saying, like within each song, trying to think about what it is that we're saying and convey that through recording is an interesting process. But one moment that stood out for me was in a song called I Learn, when Renee was singing in the booth, and she gets to this one part toward the end of the song, and we captured it. Matt was the producer that we worked with, Matt Grady, and Renee was singing and giving it her all, and I think it was maybe the third or fourth take of this song, and then just started to cry. It was like you could hear the quiver and the intensity in her voice, and you never kind of know when you're gonna go to that point of like, how long can I hold myself on this edge before I start to cry? And when a producer and your pals in your band can make it feel like a safe space where you can like reach to those limits in order to be able to express something as fully as you possibly can, is really special, I think, to let people into. Anyhow, so Renee's voice, she started to, I hope I'm not like throwing you into a vulnerable spot here, Renee, but I feel like you'd be fine with it. Started to cry, and but what Matt did was like he used that take right up until the absolute last point that he could have before like the notes start getting missed and everything, right?
Yes, when everything starts to break a little bit. But I guess that's why I even like folk music in general, is because of that rawness. There's a moment where you can hear that break. And I have to be honest, I love all the songs. So that's my first disclaimer. But I Learn really captured me. I'm like, this is the gem on here. I don't know what it is about this song, but I think you just explained it. I just
same way. I don't know if I've ever even told these three.
It's the jam. I'm like, this
the thing is with
jam.
that song too, and I'll speak as the drummer. What was really fun with that, my take, we actually sped the song up and I recorded it fast, and then we dropped it all back down for the take, and the recording of the drums just became this monstrous, slow, grueling, drawn out sound.
The rhythm.
It was really cool.
I really like, the rhythm effect really captured me.
The cymbals wash.
Yes. You know, had that bit of that orchestrated kind of feeling. It was just the gem. I don't know. And thank you, Steve, for really explaining. It's like, there's certain layers in that I didn't even realize. And thank you for pointing that out, Noelle. Like, I wouldn't have realized what it was, but I know I'm hearing it. It's like, no, this is a gem. I don't know what it is, but I know it is. And so thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
And it's pretty much the one song off the album we don't play anymore.
Well, and part of it, I think, in Kejo, like the fact that it does hit you. I feel like that was the most emotionally driven in experience of all the songs. So, I mean, I think that speaks largely to how I was listening to somebody speak about how if you, as the artist, invest yourself in the relationship to music, then the people who are listening to that music will undoubtedly be connected to it as well. Instead of the approach of like connecting with the audience and trying to pull them into the music, connect with the music, and the music does the work of everything.
Exactly. It just takes, yes, that's a very good point. Connect with the music. Thank you very much, Noelle. Yes, that is a good point. And I know now you've spoken about the intensity, but is there any funny ones that you've had the most fun with? Hillary, Renee?
My personal favorite, and I'm just going to set you up here, Hill, because I have so much fun singing Hand in Hand, and I think you should tell that story.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Hand in Hand. Well, I'm trying to think of particularly funny experiences of singing that, but I feel like just in general, singing that song is fun because we've choreographed little movements and stuff. I remember the first time we decided that we wanted to start playing that song live. And I don't even think we had figured out the harmonies perfectly or anything. And we decided to choreograph a dance. and we were laughing in Renee's kitchen and completely forgetting how to sing the song as we were so focused on dancing. But it's one of those songs. I wrote it about the side of dating that doesn't always get talked about, and that's when you are not very interested in someone that is very interested in you, or you just don't necessarily want a relationship, but just that kind of awkwardness of relationship or the love world. But
Hillary has this happen to her constantly.
Yes, I get all of my influence from my dating life.
From your dating life.
No, but
you say we're friends, I say we're not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but this particular song, I wanted to write something that was as quirky as the story that I was trying to portray. So we had opened for Ben Kaplan. Okay, so we'd opened for Ben Kaplan, who's a Halifax musician who is amazing and does klezmer, kind of Eastern European, cool, Jewish folk music. And I was so inspired by that sound. I'm like, okay, well, how do I get something with that interesting, weird beat? So I started writing Hand in Hand, and then I just turned into this bizarre experience that we like to shout and whoop from the stage. And yeah.
I don't know how long your initial time, how much time was spent to get it up to the point where it was brought to us, but I felt like it came together really quick once it was in our hands. I remember it materializing really fast, and all of a sudden it was just there, and then playing it's always been really fun live.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it came together quick. It was one of those songs that just came quickly together for me. Yes. You know how sometimes you write a song, you create something and it feels like it's not even you who's doing it. It just suddenly is on paper and it's like, oh my gosh, I wrote this. And I guess I have to, learn this now. And yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's your daily experience. We understand.
It's like Renee and Noelle bring the deep, intense, beautiful experiences of life. And I talk about dating.
It's funny because it's sometimes dating does not lead to this mesmerizing love match, and that's why I found it. That's just the way it works out sometimes.
It's so funny.
Maybe I just empathize a little too well. I don't know. But I liked it.
Thank you.
Well
It's
done.
so funny because I feel like we're always on this other side of Hillary's songs when she brings them to the group, and she's like, my songs aren't really about like anything super deep and meaningful, and we're always convincing her that in fact they are, and we're like, no, Hillary, it's like a really strong narrative that, you know, women can choose who you want to date, and that, you know, sometimes men pine after women too, and that's a different good story to tell, that it's not always women chasing men in a heterosexual relationship.
It's true. Yeah. And that's why I liked it. I found it a little bit, a lot of it liberating, like to hear a woman sing this song and to be so honest about it, because it's true. It does happen. And it does. What can I say? I'm sorry, but it does. But yeah, it's just, I found, so thank you. Thank you for writing that. I think a lot of people can see the humor and obviously, can relate to the power of it, to be that honest.
And things definitely become funnier when you actually put them into music.
It does.
You can let go of the awkwardness of the experience.
Exactly. Now we're just oompa all the way through. Oompa, oompa, and there it is. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so let's get into the other things that I know, because now we've talked about clarity, but I know you also practice what you preach, as it were. Like, I know you have all these messages, but you do put some effort into it. And I noticed that you recently did a emergency shelter fundraiser effort in collaboration with London counselor Ariel Kayabaga. Would anyone want to speak about that a little bit?
Yeah. That was a really meaningful project for us to be asked to contribute to in that way. It's WISH is the project here in London, Winter Interim Solution to Homelessness.
Okay.
And it's an amazing project. So it's the development of a couple different essentially pop-up home shelters for people to find, to have safe, secure housing throughout the winter months. And in addition to a roof and warmth and 3 meals a day and a community that is, it's such a thoughtfully put together project that really seems to center each individual as knowing what their own needs are. It's funded by the City of London, and several different organizations in London are contributing as well. And they actually just recently asked people to stop sending in physical donations of clothing and physical supplies, because they have so much more than they know what to do with right now, which is a good problem to have.
That's wonderful. They finally have some abundance. And this sounds like a very smart project, because you're, like you said, they're going towards that person's needs and then fulfilling that need as they need it, as they see fit.
And 2 folks I was reading this week, 2 folks have secured housing for the spring, so are using this interim housing placement now, and they've actually, because, I mean, it's the whole situation of when our basic needs are not met, we have no space to dream, no space to think about things, putting different things together to fulfill ourselves in other ways, right? And I think that, I mean, I definitely take that for granted sometimes, is just having the space to sit and think. Like, that is a tremendous privilege that a safe house and food provides me, you know?
Yes.
So I'm on a soapbox a bit there, sorry.
No, I'm glad. No, it's important. I think it's a very important message, and I'm glad you did share it. So that information, is it still on the PAIR's social media and site and all that?
Yep, and there is a link in our Instagram bio where financial donations are still very much what's the word? Useful.
Useful, exactly. They only need monetary donations. Thanks for the clothing, but they need monetary, I guess, to keep the program going.
Yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
Excellent. That's excellent.
They might also still be looking for volunteer applications too, if people can donate more of their time too, to just help coordinating with getting people all of these things that have been donated to. There's lots of different volunteer roles, but last I looked, which was later last week, they were still looking for volunteers too. So,
well, thank you, Renee. Yes, thank you. So there it is. Thank you, listeners. So we're looking for volunteers as well as monetary donations, and you can check that out on the Pairs Instagram. But I noticed that it was also a Winter Wonderland concert, and I'm wondering, since we're talking about going forward and how things are going to work in the during this wonderful pandemic time, how do we go forward? Do you see yourself doing more of that, or we're just going to do all of our concerts in the snow, or how do you see yourselves going forward?
Oh, who knows? Everything is always changing.
What was the experience like, though, being outside and doing that?
It was really fun. We had this so this was during a time where we were as a band not being together inside. And so this was our option to be outside in the beautiful world, in the snow. And Steve came and patted down some snow to put his drums out. And we were playing, and there's like people walking around, and I mean, there's other people's properties, like backyards backing up onto this area that we were recording from. And that was so perfect because, you know, what we're missing with live music right now is that sense of connection and community.
Yes.
But also we were putting together a video about supporting our own community as well. And we had we had people waving and saying hi. We had someone come over and was like FaceTiming family from Jamaica. So we had like people.
So you're all over the world. The Pairs are all over the world. They're like, wow, this is how we do in Canada. We just
went international.
Pat down the snow. And
but this like a community experience, which was like ended up being unexpected and perfect.
That is the impromptu.
It was fun. I think there's definitely a spot in the video if you manage to see it, because at the end of Wrong Side of Life, you can see Noelle just like grasping to the final notes, and then there's sort of this screaming agony as she takes her fingers off the neck of the guitar and everything's frozen. It was cool. It was very crisp.
We do it for the love. Right?
For the love. It was those like the plucky songs that get me. The strumming was okay a little bit, but the dexterity was.
Yeah. And I can't believe at this point in my life I haven't learned this yet, but Converse All-Stars are not suitable winter footwear.
Yeah.
Advise against that.
Yeah.
They look great, Steve. They look great. Yeah.
They're good for the video though, right?
You can't drum in winter boots. You usually play barefoot, right? I stepped it up.
That was the that's you've already changed the the outfit, right?
Steve, I feel like we've seen you learn the lesson that Converse are not for a lot of things over and over again.
You keep trying.
Yeah.
There you go. That's your professional tip for all the drummers out there. If you happen to be playing in the snow, no to the Converse.
They're great for drumming, rubbish for everything else.
There you go. We'll get you a proper platform next time. There you go. So any projects on the horizon, I don't know, with Ottawa writers or anything, Noelle, or anything going on over there that you want to mention?
Yeah, you're a Craig Cardiff fan, yeah?
I am. I'm a big fan.
That was very cool. Such a neat experience. He reached out to do a couple of songs, remote recordings, which was very fun. And then, yeah. And this whole project has seen this whole time with the pandemic and taking space, it's been really cool for our group, the pairs, because I mean, I feel like we've each kind of taken some steps into our own personal lives and creative journeys outside of the pairs. The pairs had been housing all of our hopes and dreams for really the last few years, and it has served us really well, that intensity, I think. And then now it feels like we're at this nice stable place with the pairs, that each of us has kind of been exploring our creativity with other projects as well. So yeah, that's fun.
one. Okay, cool. I look forward to hearing some of that.
Yeah.
And of course,
Monday the 18th, one comes out.
Awesome. Yes. So that's gonna be January 18th. I'm looking forward to hearing all that. So how's everyone else's sabbatical going? Renee?
It's going. It's funny. I have done lots of writing during the pandemic for sure. I use these three as like my security blanket when performing. So I'm not so much for the solo stuff, but I do feel like the pandemic has given a couple opportunities for us because we haven't been together either. So I've jumped online, done a couple, Facebook Live things, and it's definitely not where my career as a musician is headed on my own. But I have really enjoyed, like Noelle was saying earlier, just that opportunity to dig into who we are as individuals too, because I think our investment in music as a collective was really, really based on the four of us being together. So this time apart has been really cool just to see what we write on our own with that prolonged time apart. And we have a few new singles that we've been able to work on that we'll be recording too, hopefully, if we can ever go into a studio again. But yeah, we're hopefully going to team up with some other local producers and artists to kind of release a few more songs, hopefully this year, but we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Good. Looking forward to that. And how about for you, Hillary? How's this sabbatical going?
It's had its ups and downs for sure. But especially lately, we've been having a lot of conversations as a band as to what this break has actually afforded us. And I think that the time to slow down and be very intentional about where we put our time and effort is actually been appreciated. I mean, not always. There's a lot of times where we were pretty bummed not to be able to be playing together, but we just finished rebooting our website, and we're trying to create this plan for releasing some singles. And the fact that we had stopped amidst such a bustling time for us and ready to race into the
hit
summer.
The ground running.
Yeah, we were going. And I think having the time when the whole world is having a bit of a sabbatical for the most part, that we were able to be a lot more intentional. And I mean, personally, I have learned that I can draw.
Nice.
And so I've been pursuing a little bit of drawing and kind of having a bit of a different creative outlet. And so I am doing illustration work and kind of that's my job right now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Maybe you'll see it on the next album. Who knows?
Yeah, really quickly, I feel like Hillary's being really modest when she says, I learned how to draw. Because in my perspective of her, she's always been brilliant. Her father was a brilliant artist and has art everywhere, Stephen Watson. So she comes by it honestly and works hard to perfect it lately, but just wanted to drop that.
Oh, thanks, Noelle.
I refined your skills.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Just start like, you know, casually just posting it on your Instagram and so on.
Yeah. Well, and doing it every day actually makes a difference. Is what I found out.
Practice,
Surprisingly,
wow.
practice makes better.
I know. I knew that. I understand what you mean though. Yeah. So when you start to really focus, and who knows, maybe you can even do a live IG. I mean, I've watched artists do their own drawing and they'll be playing their own favorite tunes in the background. And it's, I don't know, I find it very relaxing to watch, you
Oh, I
know,
love
but
that.
that's just me, right?
No, I agree. I've seen some artists do that. I would agree.
Yeah. So yeah,
Totally.
thank you. Thank you, Hillary. And I look forward to when you're ready to share your masterpieces with us. And how about you, Steve? I know you're doing some redecorating. And
It's actually been quite good, to be honest. The fact that everyone within my immediate circle has remained healthy obviously contributes to that.
That is wonderful. Yes.
We had moved back to London from Stratford not long before the pandemic started. So it provided a chance to settle and kind of reestablish ourselves here, and gave me some time to do some work on the house, including I'm working on a bit of a spot so we can rehearse if anyone's ever allowed back in here. And I've continued working. I came back to London to work for a little organization called GLIA, and we do open source, open access medical equipment, and a lot of 3D printing and stuff like that. So work for us actually ramped up as face masks and face shields and everything else in demand. So the slowdown period actually became very busy for me. But it was a very quick shift of gears though, right?
Yeah.
Like the band thing just sort of halted.
And sorry, I'm doing medical equipment right now. I don't have time for that, guys.
But it was also a lot of time to be home with my family as well, which was appreciated. Yes.
So even though you're ready to hit the ground running, it's like, no, the band has to take a pause. So so that's really good.
For me, I mean, obviously it's a hard thing for everybody globally, and a lot of, tragedies have come out of it. But there are these sort of little light spots that have helped in a way.
Glimmers of hope and sometimes perspective, because like you said, now you have time to even spend more time with your family.
Just how everything's changed. I even thought this today because I did a little curbside pickup. I needed some neti pot salt. And I thought, oh, it's so interesting because like we don't spend our time in stores now, and we don't end up just buying all this stuff we don't need and this and that, because it's just not there in your face now. There's just space.
Like you were saying before, Hillary, like that intention, right, Steve? Like it's very intentional now. When we do something, when we buy something, how we spend our time. And I guess it just, I don't know, sometimes it might be a little bit more meaningful because you know exactly why you're doing something now, and not just, like you said, that kind of spontaneous buy on the way out. Exactly. Well, thank you. Thank you all for sharing this and coming in this evening to talk about everything. Thank you, Steve and Hillary and Renee and Noelle. And yes.
Thank you, Kejo.
For joining me. Yeah, thank you so much. And for sharing your influence as well as, all your playfulness and your intentional things that you want to do. And of course, making some noise. And thank you, Karen Young, offering technical support on this recording. I'm Kejo Buchanan, and this is the CJRU Artist Review. Ashe.